Good evening and thank you for joining us. The worsening overdose crisis in Thunder Bay recently prompted City Council to advocate for greater harm reduction measures from upper levels of government.
One policy could see simple drug possession decriminalized, but local leaders recognize that won't happen overnight. Vasilos Bellos joins us live in studio with the details. Vasilos?
Thanks, Riley. Decriminalization is a discussion being had by all levels of government across the nation, with a 3-year pilot project in BC kicking off about a month ago. It's meant to connect users to addiction supports rather than prison time, but there may be a need for more services if it ever took effect in Thunder Bay. Opioid-related deaths across the city have skyrocketed, rising from 16 in 2008 to 122 in 2021. In response, City Council voted unanimously to adopt a 4-pillar campaign centered around lobbying higher levels of government to adopt harm reduction responses. Included is declaring a drug poisoning crisis, expanding harm reduction and treatment practices, and decriminalizing possession of drugs for personal use. Drug strategy lead Cynthia Olson explains the benefits of these pillars.
What it can do is really reduce stigma, reduce barriers to accessing harm reduction and treatment services in the community. And so part of those other recommendations are, enhanced and immediate scale up of addiction and mental health services, evidence-based harm reduction services, as well as long-term and sustainable funding for upstream prevention.
Drug decriminalization, which is not the same as legalization, is envisioned as a way of directing users to addiction treatment and services rather than criminal charges. Olson believes this would be highly effective, though it's not possible in Thunder Bay without the correct resources.
We know that we have gaps in addiction and mental health services. We know we have gaps for individuals to meet their social determinants of health. One of our goals with decriminalization is reducing stigma and increasing access to services. If they're not there, then that could still be problematic.
British Columbia recently received a federal exemption allowing them to carry out a drug decriminalization pilot project. Acting Police Chief Dan Taddeo says the service is open to decriminalization, but says considering Thunder Bay's severe issues, they'll need more government support if it is to be effective.
I cannot accept something on a broad brush approach if it's happening in another province or even happening in Ontario, unless this city gets what is needed based on our statistics. The statistics cannot be ignored anymore. So I look forward to that support coming from the government.
Olson says there's no timelines or confirmation a decriminalization approach will be taken on by the city, though they'll be keeping an eye on how the BC pilot project proceeds. Vasilos Bellos, TVT News.